Hi guys, welcome to the Coaching Corner. This week you have myself, Harry, and Ryan. We haven't had Ryan on for a while. He's looking good in his beard. I'm liking this. And Harry, I can't remember the last time you were on, but it always feels like a while since we've had one of these and caught up. But this time I haven't even told them, and I'm not completely sure what we're going to do topic-wise. We may end up kind of discovering one. But I think this will be a Q&A. I have some kind of Q&As that haven't been questions rather that haven't been answered. So I thought we could chuck those in the mix. But I did want to kind of just check in on Ryan, first of all. How are things? How's Iowa? No, wait, you're not in Iowa. Why am I saying that?
Right. I moved to Colorado a few months ago and things are good here. We get so much more sunshine than Iowa. So getting my vitamin D in. So that is nice. And yeah, things have been good. Like training wise, still just kind of maintaining my legs and training like a bro. But I did start up jujitsu. So that has been fun. And it definitely would be hard to like push my legs hard and do that for a few sessions a week. I don't know how people do that, like Mike and some of the other people that you see train, but yeah, Trevor does like 6 sessions a week plus lifting like crazy. So shout out to Trevor, but yeah, it's been good. And yeah, all's well with me.
Did you get my main gaining joke? I'm checking how in the loop of what's going on in the industry you are.
Is main gaining like you maintain your body weight, but still try to slowly make progress over time?
Yeah, it's just Greg Doucette just for some reason decided to call gaintaining, which I thought was a much nicer word to main gaining. So it's just
main gaining. Yeah. So I guess I technically would be main gaining to where I am basically just maintaining body weight, but still trying to make progress here and there in the upper body. So
how long have you been doing the jiu-jitsu now?
Just a few weeks. So okay. I'm still within my first month of doing it, but it's been good. It's interesting to get strangled in the mornings, but after that, like the rest of your day, like you're set. It's like nothing can happen to you after you've been strangled. So it's good.
That's cool. Harry, how are things over on your end? Are you main gaining as well?
Kind of. The only right, I'm pushing upper body volume. I'm pushing quad volume. Sorry, I say upper body. I'm pushing arms, back, and quads, and pecs and hammies and calves, and whatever's left is at maintenance and delts. Because I'm only doing 4 sessions a week, so at my training age, to progress everything 4 sessions a week isn't going to happen. So
tricky.
Yeah. And I just thought, what muscles do I care about the most? And even when I worked at VC a few years ago, it was always like, I want my quads to grow. I want my quads to grow. So, and now it's like, I feel like my quad training is actually productive. Well, it's always been relatively productive. I actually like can do a set of leg press and be like, I have a quad pump. Whereas a few years ago, that definitely wasn't the case. Sleep is awful. Had some stuff with the puppy this week. We had to take her to the vet in the middle of the night. So that she's all right, but we still missed out on a lot of sleep and stuff because of that. So yeah.
What did she do?
She had rapid heart rate, rapid labored breathing for no reason. And then, when you go on like Google, like why is my puppy like panting like it's run a marathon when it's sleeping?
Yeah.
And then, and obviously Google tells you that they're going to die now. Take them to the vet now. So then we found a vet and then took her to the vet, and then they did a load of tests and said, they can't find anything wrong with her, but book her in for like a heart scan and stuff anyway, just because heart conditions can affect her breed quite a lot. So that could be it. But she didn't have any symptoms of heart conditions. But anyway, that's not relevant to the podcast. I'm sleep deprived, but I'm less stressed than I was yesterday.
How was your sleep on Sunday?
Sunday? After football?
Remember, yeah, there you go. Did you watch it?
I watched it. Yeah. Ryan's like, what? There wasn't an NFL game.
What's football?
Yeah. What are you guys talking about? The NFL doesn't start for like 2 months.
No, it was. I thought Italy deserved to win. To be honest, based on the way they played. Yeah. All my Italian friends are really smug this week as well. Where I live is right near Stansted Airport, so there's loads of like European people. So yeah, every gym you go into, you see the Italian people, and they walk in like. But Ryan's still like, what's going on? Yeah. So European football tournament, Euros.
Yeah, we somehow made it to the finals. But this sounds probably a bit weird to people, but I'm almost glad we lost with how we responded. and how we acted like to it
Football
all. It's
hooligans
just
are the
ridiculous,
worst, aren't they?
Yeah, the racism, like the people in central London, like we saw some of Charlotte's friends, we went to watch it theirs, and then we're going to travel through central London. We couldn't, so I ended up hitting like 40,000 steps that Sunday trying to trek back home, and obviously sleep deprived. And I was just like, oh, it's just because there was loads of police and the tube wasn't running, so it was scary kind of. But yeah,
like why
UK
football hooligans are just crazy.
Do you know what that term means in the US for football hooligan?
No.
So basically, in the UK and in some of Europe, football fans create basically gangs, what they call firms, and then they get ridiculously drunk and violent whenever there's football, and they all fight whoever's near them. And then the whole of the centre of the city was basically full of every single football fan in the UK. It was like concentrated in one place. So it was just complete pandemonium and chaos in London over the weekend. It was almost rioting, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say that it went to penalties, Ryan. So it was extra time, penalties, and I think it was the last 3 penalty takers, or within there, 3 of the penalty takers were black. And so people just started like being racist, basically. And I think there was even some people getting stabbed and like people at risk. So like, it was just madness.
Completely illogical and nonsensical.
Yeah. I saw someone made a joke about 3 lions on a shirt on our badge. It's 3 lions. Lions are from Africa, and they were just like, like, you're so passionate about these 3 lions.
I reckon the cumulative IQ of all the football fans probably doesn't even constitute a 5-year-old child. Like, genuinely. Like,
is it worse this year compared to previous years, or is it always kind of crazy like this?
I think it's worse because of the pandemic. Like, football wasn't on for like a year or whatever.
I was gonna say people are just like cooped up and have some pent up, like, I don't know.
But this is the particular demographic that would have had the biggest negative response to being locked up and stuff anyway.
Right.
Like, yeah.
It was something like, if we lose get football games as England, domestic abuse increases by like a big percentage. Like ridiculous.
Wow.
It's like
it's
horrible.
If we win and lose. It was something like if when we lose, domestic abuse goes up by like 40%, and when we win, it goes up by like 30%. It was ridiculous because it's alcohol. It's alcohol related, isn't it?
Right.
So if we lose, they drink a shit ton and get angry. If we win, they drink a shit ton and get angry. It's like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I think they should not serve alcohol at the stadiums, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, they don't. With football,
not?
you can't have alcohol in the stadiums. With rugby, you can, because rugby fans are a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah, football's the only
behaved.
sport in the UK where, at least that I know of, where they can't integrate the fans. Like, so if you watch rugby or cricket or like tennis or any other sport, the fans will all be integrated, as in there won't be like a designated area for like England fans or a designated area for Italian fans. Whereas in football, they have to separate them and have a police barrier between them so they don't kill each other.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
It's stupid. Yeah.
Anyway, on to more fat loss, muscle gain related things.
Don't go to football game.
You don't want to go do it. It's a scary experience. But what was I going to say? Have either of you guys got any competitors this season? Because we're getting into, like, I've got my first Frank. Shout out to Frank. He is competing. I'm trying to think. I don't think it's. No, it might be. Yeah, it's not this weekend. Next weekend. So he's like going through his peak week and everything soon. But I don't know if you guys have any competitors at the moment.
Not for me.
So I have one. I have Philip. He's doing a physique competition here in just a couple of weeks. So
nice.
That should be good. He's pretty much like ready to go. So it should be good. So
that's really exciting. Have you had the opportunity, using like refeeds, or have you had the opportunity to trial any kind of peaking strategies? Or
not really. So we are taking a little bit more of a relaxed approach with it, because he has this like date time slotted because of different stuff that he has going on after it. So we have a pretty hard like timeline there. And he's already told me like, hey, I'm just kind of doing this for myself to get lean and to push as hard as I can over this X amount of weeks. It's not necessarily to be like crazy competitive and stuff like that. So we're just going to basically diet down into it without diet breaks and refeeds. Like, he's been feeling good the whole time, and he's consistently dropped like 1% of his body weight each week. And he's still been feeling good throughout the whole thing.
Sweet.
So we're going to just keep his kind of fat loss going all the way into it, because he's not lean enough to where he would actually benefit from like a peak week or carbing up and stuff like that. I think he would probably just end up looking not as good. So we'll just kind of keep dieting into it and, you know, go from there. So
I think a lot of people think, like, I don't know, I think they see like a highlight of competitors. So they just see the bigger competitors putting out what they're doing, and they're like, oh my God, these guys are so competitive. Whereas the majority of competitors are everyone else who's not coming top 3 or whatever. Yeah. Like they make like you have these other people competing, and you, like Philip is, you can still do that. And Frank isn't, like, his goal was to get to the leanest ever physique in a sustainable way and enjoy the process, probably very similar to Philip. And he had a hard deadline too. So it's just like, okay, like we do this and let's make sure we enjoy it. And let's, like, you'll stand on stage and look respectable, but like it doesn't have to be so serious for him. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, they can't compete because they're not as serious as this other person. So hey, you can still go and do it and enjoy it. Do 99 or 95% of everything and get what you want out of the experience.
Yep. And then you just don't have to deal with that final few percent, which is probably the worst anyway, is to where you have to, like, really kind of get into the details and stuff like that. And with Frank, are you guys using refeeds and stuff like that? Are you doing a peaking strategy? Is he kind of to that point to where he'd benefit from that?
Just about. So we have done like it was kind of a mock peak week / it was just a diet break where we took some photos and took them up to maintenance. So it wasn't like a really strict thing. We started monitoring fluids and added sodium. So we're kind of getting a gauge of that. But he is doing bodybuilding. So he's starting to see kind of, you can see like his quads, full detail there. He's getting a few striations for the shoulders and everything. So I think he's finally, I said this to him in his update, he's been looking, like, every update I'm like, why do you still look so, like, full? Like, he's still, you know, like some people diet down. You're like, how are you still holding so much fullness still? And actually, I probably am at the moment that type of person where I'm, like, lean, but I'm still looking quite full. So for him, in this final update, I was like, oh, you're finally looking like shredded flat. Like, he looks deflated. I was like, this is good because we're going to fill you up a little bit here. But similarly, like, we're going to do like a backload basically, and it's not very aggressive. Like it's one of the most mild peak weeks you probably have for someone, because just doesn't require people probably think, oh, I need a rapid backload. And it's like, well, very few people actually probably require that.
And for you, Steve, how much further do you have to go? You still have a ways yet, don't you?
So I'm 6 weeks out from next week from my first show. Okay. So it's all come quite quickly. It feels like, anyway. I've only been dieting, less than 10 weeks now, I think. So
which is a quite different approach than you took last time, right?
Way different, yeah. It's much better for me. Less time. Like, I feel good. I still feel like I'm in, like, dare I say it, touch wood, like the diet honeymoon phase, where it's just like, I'm enjoying food and I'm enjoying food.
And you just said you're lean, but you're still, like, full.
Yeah.
I'm guessing training's still going pretty well if that's the case and stuff. Yep. So
everything's holding up. So yeah, I'm going to be taking a deload full week at maintenance next week. I have the time for it. And then I'll probably actually start for the first time actually using refeeds, which will be exciting. So I think this is the difference when you have a first time competitor. It's just hard to be able to get to a point where, like, you don't know how their body's going to respond. There's a few weeks potentially lost just because, I don't know, they don't know exactly how to be as adherent as they should be, or there can be that. Whereas now I'm like, I know how to do this shit. Like, I can just be like in, out. My body has been responding super well. So yeah, first show now is in 6 weeks, which is the UKDFBA qualifier. And then they have a finals in like a month after that or something, if I qualify, which I actually have no idea if I'll qualify. I was feeling pretty confident that I'd qualify for the finals because I did last time and I placed in the finals. But this time, the competitors, you just don't even know now. Like, there's less shows, so it's going to be more competitive probably. And
have you got any idea of who or what caliber of physique might be showing up on the day?
Not really, because they've changed how they do their classes. So they're height classes now versus weight. So quite often people will post up their weight, or you'll have a gauge of what someone weighs, but no one really posts their height. So I'm just like, I actually don't know. So yeah, I just have to kind of wait and see. I'm just glad I'm not I shouldn't be, unless somehow I grow like a centimeter, be in the tall class, because I know the tall class is going to be full of some heavy hitters. That's a guarantee.
That's why I don't compete. I'm too tall.
Yeah, you would be in tall.
Yeah, I know. I'd be the skinniest guy in tall, so it's no problem.
I don't know how I feel about that, actually, because I have some other guys who, similarly to you, Harry, like very respectable physiques. They would be in the tall class, but ultimately they'd be a lightweight if they did weight classes.
When I'm like stage lean, I'd be 6 feet, 74 kilos. So it's not very heavy at 6 feet. So
I think that would be actually a middleweight, probably. I think 74. Oh, no, it might just be below the cutoff for, no, I think they do 70 kilos for some. Well, now they do height, so it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
And Steve, so I'm guessing you've been deloading and diet breaking all the way through. And then for your refeeds, what was the purpose to bring those in kind of these last 6 weeks? Was it to see how you responded to like those higher carb days and stuff like that? Or kind of what was your game plan there? And you might have covered this already on
I don't know
other stuff, but
probably haven't actually. So yeah, with my first deload came because I got COVID. So I kind of took half of it at almost maintenance. I was in a weird place where I was just like, man, it was like after 4 weeks of dieting, it then came in and I was like, man, I don't want to lose weeks or lose time. So I can't truly say that was a diet break. So this is probably my first true like diet break where I'll purposely be eating up. Whereas last time I didn't. So that makes sense. In my eyes, the ideal prep is where you periodize these things where maybe you either don't take, assuming the person is like robotic or they don't have issues eating up in calories, they can be mature with their choices and it doesn't lead to binging. I see diet breaks as something where you either don't necessarily take them at the start of prep when you're a bit fatter, or you take like half the week and then you might do 3 weeks, the last 3 days, maybe then the last 4 days, last 5 days, the whole week as contest prep. As you get leaner, take more time away from dieting. And the same with refeeds. Kind of the way I'm going to use that is basically to slow my rate of loss. So I've been losing it just below 1% rate of loss for the last few weeks. And so this will just take me to hopefully about 0.5% as I get leaner versus just bringing my calorie average up. I want to experiment with refeeds for the benefits of peaking, see if that gives me any extra data and seeing if there's anything just to it. Because I know kind of the recent research hasn't been super favorable for being like obviously providing benefits. I don't see any downsides though. So I just want to see if like they haven't researched me, they haven't researched someone this lean. So let's see. There's a lot of anecdotal support for refeeds. So I'm pretty excited to try them out. I think I'm personally someone who might do quite well with them because I know as I get deeper and get more stressed, I get edema and I get kind of around my ankles water retention. So I know one of the kind of purported benefits is getting that kind of whoosh of cortisol. So you get that whoosh effect after the refeed and you weigh in lighter. And I have seen that with a few clients recently, like Jess, for example. You give her a refeed and the next day she'll weigh like probably a couple of pounds lighter because she'll just be stressed out. So yeah, I'm excited to try them out. Nervous at the same time because 6 weeks doesn't feel like long, but I don't feel like I'm that close.
Yeah. I think that it makes sense because I mean, probably better than just staying in like a less severe deficit and stuff. Cause like at the end of the day, if you're in a deficit, you're still in a deficit and probably experiencing some of the negative effects of that. So bringing yourself into a caloric maintenance for a refeed, you at least get to, there's potential upside in that you probably wouldn't have of just kind of staying in a more or in a less aggressive deficit and stuff like that. So I think that makes sense.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of the Revive Stronger member site. Inside you'll find a thriving forum, a growing exercise library, presentations, research reviews, and courses. If you want to get involved, sign up via the description. I think you could definitely make arguments for it. I think some people will just say like averages rule, and then I just be like, okay, that's fine. Like it's still not a downside to taking it. So yeah, I'm excited to try that. And then yeah, my final show is the 31st of October. So that's actually 8 weeks after that first show. So I don't want to come in completely at my best at the first show. That would probably not be great, because 8 weeks is probably a bit long to try and maintain your best look. Whereas I want to come in maybe like, I don't know, 95% of the way there. And then I think you could probably hold your best look for about a month, or you could build into a best look for about a month. But that's about as long as I want to do that for, because it's not fun when you're down there.
Yeah. Is your strategy to put back on any weight between that kind of 8 week time point, or are you going to kind of maintain it for the most part?
I don't know. I'll just have to look at how I'm looking. I know because last season I looked to kind of go to stage and I got down to 180 and then built my calories up, and I maintained for like 3-4 weeks, and I was just building calories, and my look was looking better and better and better. So hopefully I get to a similar position but leaner, and then I can just make the call of, okay, maybe I'm getting a bit soft, I can come back down. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. It's just if I can keep my head, that's the hardest part when you're self-coached and in that position. I'll talk to Pascal and a few people, but we'll see how it all goes.
And that's probably tricky too. Like, as you're building calories, does your weight stay more or less the same? Or when you built your calories like last time around, was your weight increasing but you were also looking better? Like, I feel like that might be kind of a mind fuck when you're that lean and then your weight's going up but you're looking better and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think initially my weight, I think it maintained and then dropped, and then I pushed calories up to the point where it started going up, and I probably got into a bit of a surplus eventually. So I think that took about a month. So I'll probably get something similar to that. I know this is kind of similar. If you guys know, what's his name? Oh, why is his name coming out of my head? Dr. Joe Komgeski.
Yeah.
He likes his like metabolic building phase that he does for like a month, where he just like slowly builds people's calories up, and they just like metabolize carbohydrates better, the metabolism builds up, they store glycogen better, and they just kind of look peaked all the time almost. So that's what I'm hoping for, and then just chuck a load of shows during that period of time if I can, and see what I can do. I've actually got, the thing I'm nervous about now is I just booked in, because you can't take your COVID vaccine within a month of having had COVID. So I just booked that in for this deload coming up, the first one. But the second one lands right in like the thick of competing. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
Just going to have to see. Hopefully I'm in that like maintaining phase and it doesn't hit me too hard.
Yeah. And it's usually like a day, right? To where you feel kind of like garbage after the vaccine. Is that right?
Yeah. Have you had yours?
I have not. I had COVID, and I need to go get it. I had COVID like 2 months ago, so I'd be in the clear to go get it. So
yeah. Have you had yours, Harry?
Yeah, I've had mine. The problem I see is if you have the jab too close to stage, you have that dead arm going on and it'll be difficult to pose. That's the main issue I'd see.
It's like a couple of days, is it?
For me, it was about 6 hours, but for my partner, it was about 3 days. But I think that's just maybe potentially muscle mass differences. I don't know.
Okay.
Right. Or just individual variants. Yeah.
I might be able to move mine around, but at the moment, I think it lands like in a week 3 of a mesocycle. So I was like, let's see if I can, like, don't know, maybe move it to a rest day, the day before a rest day. And then if I feel
the only movement that even created any stiffness was abduction of my arm anyway. So it might just be like, you can get everything done apart from maybe lateral raises and maybe bench press might feel a bit funky, but that's it.
Are you double dosed?
Just one.
Just one.
So far.
Cool. So we get to, I feel like that was a bit of an inquisition into my prep, but that was good.
Yeah,
hopefully people
I've probably asked enough questions about your prep. So
I'm going to ask you guys questions. I've got this Q&A. So let's see. This is a good one for you, Harry, actually. Alternatives to macro tracking. I find it very stressful.
Depends on the place the person's in, but like alternatives to macro tracking, I feel like I'm in a bit of a sassy mood, so just not tracking would be my answer to that, but that's not very helpful. Just good, like line. I always go on about lining up your habits. Like if if you have your habit set, like you pretty much, you know, like we all do for bodybuilding, like if you don't have a routine or a structure in place, then you're going to really struggle to be successful. And typically people who find calorie tracking really stressed out, in my experience, are people who, whether they realize it or not, are following more of an efficient macros approach than they are some kind of a structured eating approach. So they're typically, I don't have much of a structure and are just weighing and measuring things and eating relatively different things at different times all the time. So it can feel like calorie tracking is taking up like a kind of a much greater amount of time than you want to give it. Whereas if you have like pretty much, you figure out what kind of breakfast it suits your goals, what kind of lunch suits your goals, dinner suits your goals, snacks that suit your goals. And if you just eat those at similar times each day, then calorie tracking becomes redundant because you're pretty much eating the same every day. So that'd be my advice there. And what I find with some clients where they say that the idea of stopping, they find calorie tracking stressful, but they find the idea of stopping it stressful as well. Then just helping to understand that then tracking calories and losing body fat are not the same thing. Like you still are consuming the same amount of calories whether you track it or not, and just encouraging that message there and giving yourself a few days as well. Like one thing about MyFitnessPal, which is a good and a bad thing, is the fact it tells you your streak. And what I found with some clients who have said, it doesn't happen typically with the Revive audience, but with my Gen Pop audience, a lot of them might be like, or Gen Pop clients and audience, they find the idea of breaking their streak stressful on MyFitnessPal. Have you experienced that or had clients say the same thing?
I haven't. I'm just laughing because I've got a stupid streak.
Yeah. And I just tell them like, what the fuck does it matter? Like you're not winning any prizes. Like unless
you can log in, log out.
Prizes. Yeah.
You don't even have to log in any food. You can just log into the app and it's
no, don't say that. Now they're going to do that. But yeah, so generally what I do is I identify meals that are easy for me to make and easy for me to prep and that fit my goals. And then I just figure out an appropriate time to consume those meals based on when I'm going to be training, when my breaks in work are, like nutrition timing. You could take it as complicated as you want. Like you could go into chrono nutrition as well if you wanted to, but not necessary. But just figure out meals and meal composition that works for you and your goals. Use MyFitnessPal to create the meal plan in the first place, and then just take some days off and just eat based on, like, you don't need to, if, for example, if you're having 100 grams of oats with your first meal, you can still weigh it and just not track it. Like, it's not like you put 100 grams in the bowl, you weigh 100 grams out, you know there's 100 grams there. You don't need to put it into MyFitnessPal to confirm that there is, in fact, 100 grams in that bowl. So yeah, just time away from tracking is typically the best way to in my opinion, and experience, is the best way to treat like tracking stress, is time away from tracking. But make sure you have that structure in place as well. Because where it does go wrong is you remove the tracking and there's no structure. And then it just becomes like, I don't have my MyFitnessPal crutch, so I'm just going to yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't track it, so it doesn't count, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't track it, doesn't count.
I think you nailed it there with the lack of structure, because ultimately tracking, if you have structure, could take a few minutes of your day. Like you don't have to be in there a long time if you have.
Or it's not necessary at all if you have structure. Yeah.
But I think it's like you said, the people who are like doing the macro Tetris we kind of talked about, where they're just like trying to do extreme if it fits your macros. They're looking at like
trying to fit Halo top in every day, basically.
Yeah, something like this. I remember trying to fit those sort of things in. Like I think you have to go through it to realize the error of your ways.
I remember fitting a Reese's Pieces Krispy Kreme donut into my macros, and it was awful. It was like 700 calories. I remember this was one of those moments where I was just so annoyed at myself for having made the rest of my day so much harder. And I really didn't need to. And it was like, I didn't want it. Oh yeah. You know, the whole thing wasn't worth it. I didn't really want it. Didn't like it. Now I have to cut carbs out of my next like 3 or 4 meals. It's like, what the fuck was the point? Yeah. And you end up going over calories on days like that because you're like, fuck this. I don't want to starve myself. Yeah. So just have structure, guys.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? What have you got any extra thoughts on top?
Yeah. I usually take a very similar approach for clients that want to kind of go away from tracking. It's usually like most of the time, if they were already tracking, they usually have like a basic meal schedule throughout the day and a meal plan that they're basically already eating. And once they have that in place, and if someone wasn't tracking, I do think a good first step is like tracking, have them create a meal plan for themselves to kind of get in a good routine of that, just like what Harry said. And then from there, we usually will like, all right, now, because some clients are like, I don't like weighing out stuff either. So we'll just have them for one meal of the day. okay, I just want you to eyeball your portion sizes and stuff like that. And then once they do that for like a week or two, it's like, okay, nothing bad happened. We're still making progress towards your goals. Now let's go to 2 meals out of the day, and then so on and so forth. And by the time we know it, they are still eating like they still have their nice structure, but they're just kind of eyeballing things, playing things by feel a little bit more. And then, you know, if they have like a social occasion on the weekend and stuff like that, still like don't necessarily have to track and get too meticulous with it, but maybe do like a protein or vegetable fast going into the big event or something like that. And then still try to make kind of reasonable decisions and kind of, I think Alberto Nunez mentioned it, like eating like an adult and just not going crazy with it just because you're not like tracking meticulously isn't an excuse to just kind of go nuts there. So yeah, very, very similar approach to you guys.
I think quite a lot, unfortunately, people, they go to like intuitive eating, and I will do it in quotation marks because I think people use that word incredibly wrong a lot of the time.
The keyboard warriors are getting ready. They're like,
I just want to go intuitive eating, or I don't want to track, and they see it, and I see it time and time again. It's just an excuse to overeat. Like they just don't want to have the confrontation of I'm overeating. They don't want to see the numbers.
My body needs this halo top right now.
And that's immaturity. It's not eating like an adult when those kind of decision making comes in, because when you start eating wholesome, great foods, like you almost default eat to your goals. As long as, I don't know, you could almost eat like that and be like, okay, I want to leave every meal slightly over full or slightly under full or satisfied, and that will probably push you in the right direction in terms of energy balance, so long as like you're otherwise healthy individual who hasn't been crash dieting for like years or something. That's something I actually have a client, Jason, at the moment. He's literally just had a newborn, and he was getting stressed about like trying to track and manage that. And I was just like, right, we can move away from that. You're trying to lose fat. Let's just make sure you hit 30 to 40 grams of protein 4 times a day. Have 2 veggies with each of those meals, or 1 to 2 veggies with each of those meals, and leave each meal slightly under full. And like, we just measure scale weight. Like we've hit the protein, we're probably going to know where energy balance is because we've got scale weight there, and we'll just see things go that way. It's the same with scale weight, actually. When clients are like, oh, scale weight stresses me out, and Jason is one of these people, I'm like, you just don't want to see it go up because you know what you're doing in the background. So it's just, you have to call your clients out on these sort of things sometimes, because it's ultimately going to help them out.
I had a hater on one of my posts telling me off encouraging daily weigh-in, and I gave that argument in retort, basically. Like,
who told you off? Sorry,
just some random internet troll was telling me I don't know anything and I should seek a professional before I give advice. And I'm like, I am a professional. But they said the same thing. So I basically just responded in the exact same way. So like, typically people who have a negative response to the scale is because the scale is making real the kind of, I guess, the not necessarily congruent goal decisions they made the day prior. Like, and it's a accountability tool as much as anything else is.
There's a fair bit of research as well on like daily weighing, isn't there, and how that
I told her that too.
Doesn't give a shit. She's like, but I saw this Netflix documentary and they said throw away the scale. Next question, I'm going to throw it to Ryan first of all. How low can you go with calories at the end of a cut?
As low as my clients are still feeling good and not running into issues with a ton of food focus and a lot of kind of negative symptoms of dieting. So I'd say if there's just crazy amount of food focus, their performance is in the tank, they're generally reporting just being stressed all the time and they can't sleep and so on and so forth, then it's probably like a time to where it's like, hey, if we still want to take this further and lose fat, a better approach right here might be to do a maintenance phase and to just kind of let our body chill for a while, work those calories up for a bit, and then kind of dive back into the deficit. And that is also within the context of someone like for general fat loss, not necessarily like a competitor getting shredded for a bodybuilding show, because I think like that type of client would have an understanding that maybe those last few weeks to where we're really pushing it, we're going to run into some of these symptoms and calories might just kind of need to go as low as they need to go to get to the level of leanness that we want to be. And like, I don't necessarily have an absolute calorie number in my head to where it's like, we can't go below this to keep losing fat. It's more so like just looking at the symptoms of what my client's reporting, and then depending on their goals, if they are reporting a lot of symptoms, like I mentioned, then it might be time to run a maintenance phase, work those calories up a little bit, and then go down. But it's not like, I have a guy that hits 1,800 calories and that's as low as I'll take him. It's kind of based on how they're feeling, stuff like that.
I love that answer because it's such an individualized way of answering that question. People will hate it because people love black and white answers like, surely it's 10 times your body weight in pounds, or like it's this number or whatever. But I like that because that's like, okay, look at how the person's responding, then make the call from there. And also I think your point of being general fat loss versus contest prep is important, because I think a lot of people get to the point you're describing and they try and push through it, and the fat loss efficiency is just terrible, and they're better off holding their ground and going again. So yeah, nice
getting
answer.
them to realize that is the challenge a lot of the time. Yeah.
Really hard. How about you, Harry? Have you got any additional thoughts?
No, I agree with Ryan 100%. But I do find sometimes clients come to me with like preconceptions that there are cut-off points, and that if their calorie target you give them is close to said cut-off point, sometimes it creates a little bit of conflict between you and the client, where particularly with low body weight, short height females, you can often find like the appropriate calories to achieve the rate of weight loss that we'd ideally want is very close or lower sometimes than the amount of calories they can actually adhere to, and that can sometimes be really challenging to work through, because you're kind of like, we take a break for a while and we don't lose fat for now until we can try and come back to it later, or you run a marathon every day in cardio. Like it's sometimes, and those are always the more difficult ones. I definitely find I have to get quite creative with the nutrition program there. Like we'll do some form of like almost weekly maintenance, just to, because I do find when I've had I've trained people who are like 4'10", for example, and sometimes adhering to the calories for multiple consecutive days is impossible for them. So we end up with like a rate of weight loss of like 0.2% body weight or something like that. But we might be in a deficit for maybe like 4 days on, 2 days off, 4 days on, 2 days off, like that kind of thing. But I think for like, I'd say 98% of people that we won't go there. We don't need to.
I see this time and time again, like fat loss for females, especially smaller female. It's because I was going like female and smaller, smallers, who are sedentary, like they have an office job or something like that. Man, they really don't kind of earn very many calories to eat. And then you think about, I don't know, you go out for a meal, like you get a burger and chips and maybe a side, and if you get a dessert, a drink, kind of couple of alcoholic beverages, like not crazy. Even for a just kind of normal guy who's not doing much, like that's a big hit. For them, it's like a couple of days of intake almost for some of them. So just in the modern day, like eating out, even takeaways, even I guess like just what's it called? Portion sizes aren't really made for that individual. So it can be really hard for them just from a social perspective, I think. But you're right in that sometimes, because there's mixed information. And I think it's good in some ways because they're trying to help women not be like, you don't have to eat that low to lose fat, but some women do, and then they get they have misconceptions about.
They feel like they've been shortchanged or fucked over. Yeah, I've had that with clients before, and they're like, "But my friend is like this, or so and said influencer is on 2,000 calories a day, and they're my height." And it's like, yeah, but that influencer's not telling you that she's doing 2 hours of cardio every morning, like like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Yeah, guys get an easy pass on that one, to be honest. Which is,
if you've ever been in a fat loss phase with the person you're living with of the opposite gender at the same time, that really does put into perspective the differences. Like, I've never done it with Hannah because Hannah has no interest in dieting. But when I lived at home with my twin sister, I remember she was in a fat loss phase at one point, and she lost about 35 pounds during this fat loss phase. So it was really effective. But I was dieting for the photo shoot I did with you, Steve, at the same time. And she used to get like actually angered and frustrated at the difference in the foods we could eat, because she would basically be there with like her asparagus, broccoli, and like chicken breasts and pretty much nothing else. And then I would be having, say, like a big pile of new potatoes because of the satiety index. And then, you know, like obviously pretty much the same thing, but just this massive pile of potatoes. She'd be looking at me like, why? Like literally like, why can't I do that? And she knows why, but yeah, it's just a totally different landscape for men and women, because we're like at a 30 kilo difference in our body weights. So
yeah.
Right.
That's why I said it's kind of like you haven't, it sounds, maybe that's not the right term.
An office job versus sedentary. She was sedentary, whereas I do like over 10K steps a day. Yeah.
It is that like you haven't earned it, but that sounds like they've done something wrong. Yeah. There's no, it's like Alberto Nunez, like everyone looks at him and how much food and carbs he can diet on. And you're like, yeah, but you're not him. And like, but you can still get there. You can still see results. And
man's got 2 pit bulls. They need a lot of exercise. So he's probably doing like 20K steps a day. So
yeah, I actually don't have a clue what his step count is. But I'm enjoying in that regard, like the benefits. I'm seeing big benefits this time round to kind of having that higher energy expenditure and the higher energy flux, like with using the weighted apparel, the steps. I think I wasn't initially seeing it because it was just like, it wasn't long enough. But now I'm like, how do I feel this good with like and on 300 grams of carbs?
Do you think you could figure out how much of an increase in calories that's yielded using the weighted apparel?
I think comparing it to last time I dieted, I've just cut under that body weight and I wasn't using the weighted apparel and my steps are a little bit higher than they are now. And I'm on, I think, at least 200 calories more, at least.
That's enough to take the kind of the sharpness out of the diet though. Yeah, for sure.
I think it might be even more than 200 calories. So yeah, I'll take that. I mean, the weighted apparel isn't super practical and fun, but it's okay.
Do you get any weird looks? Have you ever walked past any like traffic police or anything wearing it and they're with their guns looking at you like, what the fuck?
I've worn it on buses, on the tube. I've worn it. I walk the American embassy's right by me. So there's like the guys with, there's armed officers. So whenever I walk past, whenever I walk on, like past them with it on, I was like, it's not a bomb. It's just irrational to think that. But actually, when I was out this weekend with it on, and one person actually asked me like, what is that? I've seen some footballers wearing something similar to that. Is it like a bulletproof vest? And I was just like, no, it's just a weighted vest. And he was just like, I think he wasn't expecting that answer. I don't know what he was expecting. He was like, thanks.
She was right. Well, I keep on my snacks and then just get like protein bars out. I want to do it next time I diet, or at least next time I'm motivated to do a longer diet. And I'm literally looking for like the least military looking vest, because there's this trend at the moment where, you know, like a lot of the fitness gear is kind of like quite utilitarian or military in its appearance. It's like, I don't want to look like I'm wearing a ballistic vest or something like that. But
yeah, there's a lot of those. There's loads. The one I've got, I think this is actually a pretty decent one. The ones I've got where they're a bit, you can't manipulate the load on them. That's the only downside, but they look pretty normal. They look like one of the like running ones where people like have a bottle of water in it or something. Cool. Should we get to the next question? Where is it? Oh, okay. A nice one, but I'm interested to see what your answers are. Do you take pre-workout? Either of you?
I recently switched to the dark side and I do take a pre-workout now.
You didn't drink coffee, did you, Ryan? Before?
I still drink coffee.
Oh, you do have coffee.
Yeah. My caffeine intake is probably too high, but so I'm living with a roommate who takes pre-workout, and I tried his once and I actually really liked it. And I like the tingly feeling going into the session and
that beta-alanine.
Yeah. I like that. So I've basically reduced my coffee intake just a bit to fit that pre-workout in. And I'm pretty hooked now to where I take it for like every session. So it's good. But like, if I'm honest about like my performance itself in the session with pre-workout versus just coffee or caffeine, I don't notice any difference whatsoever. So I wouldn't say it's for performance reasons, more so just because I enjoy it. So
slippery slope now, just upper body training. Now the pre-workouts come in.
Yeah, I know. I'm such a bro.
Stringer vests. Yeah. Oh. I had to, well, I didn't have to. I intervened when a 50 kilo female in my gym was about to take a 350 milligram scoop of pre-workout at like 6 p.m. at night the other day. I was like, you know, when like you're in Vegas, like, is that a good decision for you to make? Like, is it really? And she never had it before as well. She was like holding it up like, my friend gave me this. I'm going to try it tonight. And I was a bit like, you know, you're like, I really don't think that's a good idea. Like, at least do half a scoop. But no, I don't have one. But I've been looking for a stim-free one because a lot of my workouts have been after my kind of stimulant cutoff point. And I hate working out in the afternoon. I hate it. My energy slumps at about 3 p.m. and doesn't really come back. Like, I much prefer training in the morning. But because of my shitty routine at the moment, I haven't been training in the morning, been training in the afternoon. So I'm going into my sessions feeling low on energy, despite being well fed. So I've been looking for a stim-free pre-workout, even if it's just a placebo, because I want that placebo effect. But no, I haven't really been using a pre. Anyone got any good stim-free ones that?
I don't know if it's good, but I've been using My Protein's stim, their pump one, just because I saw it and I was like,
they took the powder off their website in the UK. I can only find the pill one. I'm like, I'm not going to get the placebo from the pill. It's all about shaking it up, drinking it, listening to tunes. Like,
that's literally why I bought it. I was just like, I just want to try some. So as I'm getting leaner, like, don't know, need something to give me a bit of an edge. So I tried out theirs. It's tasty. Citrulline, I think there was even a study recently that came out about like citrulline, and it was like, so that's basically one of the only things in there I thought was doing anything.
I was literally looking at citrulline on Examine yesterday because I had like there's a new guy in the gym who's like 17 and he was just thinks supplements are the best. So I just showed him examine.com and I was on the website looking at the citrulline page and I was like, this looks quite good. And then I was confused because I was like, I'm pretty sure people say it's not that good. I'm like, am I misreading the examine.com's way of assessing something's value? I was like, maybe I am, but I'm not sure. But yeah, anyway, I've been telling everyone the wrong thing the whole time. I've been saying this means good, this means bad.
I think Legion Athletics has a stim-free pre-workout. I don't know if
you're Americans
would ship to you guys though. So
yeah, Legion looks good. There's actually a few good like evidence-based supplement companies over there. Obviously, I worked with EM Fit for a little bit, but that fell on its face quite quickly due to Brexit. So again, you can't even get their products here in the UK either. So yeah, I don't even know the UK scene.
I looked into some of because like there's loads of gaming supplements as well. And I was wondering if maybe they were stim free because obviously most gamers play all night long. And it scared me that none of them are stim free.
Damn.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Because I thought it makes sense, wouldn't it? Like, because the typical like gaming hours are probably from like 8 p.m. onwards, and it's like, nope, everything's got like 200 mgs of caffeine. So, nope.
Yeah, I had Jason. I always forget how to say his name. How do you say Kaliva? Is that right, Ryan?
That sounds right. Yeah.
I always want to say Cholwa when I see it. I'm like, Jason Cholwa.
Yeah.
So he came on, and we basically he's done a bunch of research into like pre-workouts, and it essentially boiled down to caffeine and carbs, basically, and good night's sleep. So you always pre-workouts for me have got to be one of the most overrated. Like, I imagine the margins are really good, and especially because people take it like every day. I reckon supplement companies make a lot from it. So with their athletes who are sponsored, they probably wouldn't buy it if they weren't sponsored. They just get given it all, and then they big it up. They're like, my workout was amazing because of this. And I'm just like,
the placebo is a real. I think you could. I haven't seen the research, but I think I can make a strong argument that the placebo effect could have a greater improvement on your workout than an actual performance boosting compound.
If you big it up enough, be like, this is the fucking shit.
Yeah.
So there was like a wild study on the placebo effect that I'm pretty sure they told participants that they were like giving them basically like anabolics, and I think they gave half of the participants actual like testosterone, and I think they gave the other ones just a placebo, and they both like increased everything like ridiculous.
Wasn't there even muscle gains as well? Lean tissue gains?
I'm not sure.
I'm thinking of a different study.
I'm 100% sure about strength gains, but not sure about actual tissue. But they then told like the part of the group that didn't actually get the treatment, they told that group like, hey, this was bullshit. Like, you didn't get anything. All their strength like went back down. And it's just ridiculous how impactful it can be. And like, there's even other studies on like people will have like a sham hip surgery or something like that. So not actually getting the hip surgery, and they'll like still put them under and stuff like that to give them a huge like effect that, yeah, you got a surgery, and they'll like feel remarkably better following it. And it's crazy. Yeah.
Have you seen the research on faith healing? And like, that's like faith healing is kind of the perfect example of placebo, where they'll set up an environment where someone claims to be like a religious healer just with their hands. And then people literally report that they don't feel joint pains or they feel better and all these kind of stuff. Like almost all the time people report that their symptoms are gone, even when the faith healer is literally just a stooge in the experiment. Right. Yeah.
I think I listened to, it might have been Joe Dipsender or something. I don't know how to say his name. You Are the Placebo was the book. So I think it covered off some of these things. It was an audiobook, so you kind of forget, but it was just like madness. But I think he was trying to get you to believe more in placebos, but you have to be quite, it's like the same people that get impacted by the placebo a lot are the same people that get like conspiracy theories in their mind and they're convinced by it because they're very, like, they're not very, I think it's like people who aren't, kind of gullible, not very skeptical, scientific minded in some way.
But that's the way the human brain's wired. It's wired to believe other people so you don't waste your own energy on figuring shit out yourself. So,
I think for us though, we're unlikely to be placeboed very much because we're just like super skeptical of like anything that sounds too
I always
good to
think
be
like
true.
I had a great workout. Was it my pre-workout? No, it's because I slept well. But you just always find the real reason for it, don't you? Yeah.
Oh well. I just saw this question come up, and this is again this is just a complete out there one, but I have no idea if either of you are interested in Dragon Ball Z. It was, what's your favorite saga?
I've never watched Dragon
I've
Ball
never
Z.
watched it.
You neither have watched it? Oh my god!
I just smile and laugh nervously when people quote Dragon Ball Z to me.
Yeah,
you must like see my stories and just be like, what is this song? What is this person?
I understand it's irrelevant, like its position in pop culture, but as a child, I never had access to the TV channels that played it, so I just completely missed out. The only real anime, if you could count it as an anime, that I had exposure to was Pokemon. So yeah.
I think it is classed as anime.
Yeah.
Pokemon. Weirdly enough, Digimon. Either of you?
Digimon a little bit, but again, Digimon clashed with my TV access, so I got to see Pokemon most of the time, but not Digimon.
Any anime for you, Ryan? No anime.
No. Well, no. I was gonna say, was Dragon Tales back in the day? Is that anime?
I don't even know what that is.
A cartoon. Maybe it was just an American thing. I don't know. I don't think that qualifies. It was just a cartoon.
I'm going to say Cell Saga. I'll just say that. He's the green bad guy.
I have no idea what that means. So there's like Dragon Ball Z. There's also like, isn't it Goku? Is that another big one?
Goku's the main character, yeah.
Oh, in Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
I think I know more than Ryan because I knew
such an idiot.
People are like punching their keyboards now.
Yeah. Like, who in the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
It's me here with like my mouse mat that's like Dragon Ball. My screensaver's Dragon Ball. I've got like 4 t-shirts here.
Was it like an R-rated anime or something? Is that why it's so like relevant in pop culture?
I don't know. I don't know if it, I think it's just because they're jacked mostly. But apparently a lot of like rappers are into it. I don't know why as well. It's like it comes in a lot of rap music apparently. I don't know. We'll get to the next question. Actually, have either of you watched the recent Marvel Black Widow? Have you seen it?
I'm going this weekend.
Enjoy. It's good.
It's good. You've seen it? Okay, good.
Yeah. I think, especially because I hadn't been to the film, hadn't seen a film in ages. So I was like, oh yeah. And then there was one on Prime recently, which was like Aliens, like a bit like Alien.
Was it with Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. I
one.
actually liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that one. I just sat and watched movies all weekend last weekend.
What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah,
it's just like a nice shoot them up movie. So,
and I'm just generally a fan of Chris Pratt. So
yeah, he's good. Harry, you need to up your game.
Parks and Rec, yeah. It's because like what I found since having the puppy, I think it's a little bit like a kid. Where it's like I just feel I spend so much time sitting with it, making sure it doesn't chew something and kill itself, that I'm concentrating. I can't concentrate enough on what's on the TV to appreciate it because my attention is diverted. So I've just been watching complete trash TV. You know, like the stuff that's on in the evening in the UK.
Love Island.
Like, Not that, I haven't been put that on, but you know, where like you look up at the TV, you're like, I don't even know what's on it. I feel like, yeah. So, and my step count, it bugs me because my steps are like really high throughout the day. And then in the evening when it's my turn to watch her, like I just feel restless and I'm like yeah. Anyway, I've not been watching anything interesting at all. Oh, Fear Street on Netflix was good. The movies, have you seen them?
No.
Fear Street Part 1 and Part 2, like slasher horror movies, but they're actually done well, not in like a, oh, I feel sick way. Like it was good. Highly recommend.
I have to have a look. We get to one more question, I think. Let's see if I can find a good one. I think this might be a good question. What's the 3 most common reasons for wanting to compete in your fitness experience? It sounded like a good question. I'm not sure.
Compete in what sense? Because this fitness experience, which is quite broad. I'm presuming they mean bodybuilding.
I think they mean bodybuilding. I'll go with, I mean, I commonly hear, because I always ask, like, why do you want to compete in consultations? And typically it's just someone who's like, they've put in so much time, effort, money, invested just so much into it that they're like, I just want to see what I can bring to stage. Because, I mean, when you do it for the first time, you don't know you're going to love it. Next time you compete, you're like, oh yeah, I want to get to stage because it's the buzz, you get the high, you learn from it. So I think in my experience, it's just people who have already invested so much into it. They just want to take it to that next level, and or they're coaches themselves and they want to get into coaching people to stage. So they want to learn about kind of getting it there themselves. That's what I typically see.
I haven't coached a ton of competitors, but the ones that have, for me anyways, have mostly been just, they want to see how lean they can get for themselves mostly. And kind of like they've been into the lifting thing for a while, like you mentioned, and they've gotten pretty lean, but they haven't taken it to like a more competitive level to actually step on stage. And that's kind of what they usually like to do it for.
I find I convince more people not to compete than I do to compete. Not necessarily because their reasons aren't good enough. I think just because a lot of people don't have a good understanding of what is required or what it takes, or they tell me what their goal is and they'll be like, you can achieve your goal without going near a stage. So
yeah.
100%. I think photo shoots are great for a lot of those people because you get almost, it's like we talked about, you kind of get all the benefits of dieting. You don't need to go that last like 5% where it's all shit. Like
disorder town. Yeah.
Shit. Like there's some, I don't know, in hindsight, you appreciate that shitness, but in the thick of it, it can be pretty tough. So yeah, I think, yeah, interesting. That was probably, let's say that was the last question. You guys got anything going on, anything on your end that's kind of exciting?
I'm going to go see Black Widow tomorrow. So that's exciting.
Yeah, weekend plans. I need to know.
That's about all I got. I'll trade jiu-jitsu on Sunday, but Saturday's wide open. So I'll see what happens.
Doing an Olympic weightlifting class next week.
Olympic weightlifting? Oh. You're not running it. You're going to a class that's run.
I'm not running it. God.
Yeah.
I feel like I just feel like making shit up.
What made you want to do that?
Because it looks cool. And there's I noticed that RP have some weightlifting templates, and I would like to understand. I'd like to give one a go, but I don't even understand what the movements are in the program. You know, when you look at the little peek inside, it says like the name of an exercise. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So like, I couldn't even appreciate trying to run a weightlifting program because I don't have any concept of what the movements are, how to do them correctly. And I even notice things like occasionally if I clean the bar up to like say put it back in a rack and I do it and I'm like, that just felt ugly. Like do you know what I mean when you've had those experiences? Yeah. Like instead of unloading the bar on the floor, you might do a clean, get it on the rack and unload it there. And I'll just be like, oh God, I really feel like I should learn to do this properly.
Weightlifting looks really cool. Whenever I've tried any of it, I feel awful doing it. I'm just like, oh, I'm not built for this.
My body mechanics suit upright squatting quite well because I have done one weightlifting class before and the guy was quite impressed with, like, he was like, are you sure you've not done it before? Are you sure you've not done it before? And I'm like, well, I haven't done this before, but I do have like a decade of lifting experience. But I can, especially when I do a front squat, I'm pretty much like that. So
yeah,
because I've got short femurs.
I was going to say long torso,
short femurs. So like my squats are quite stacked. So he said like I picked up like overhead squatting and that kind of stuff reasonably quick. So I might as well give this a little go, see if I can get like a baseline level of proficiency because I definitely don't have that right now. It's like, yeah, I feel like absolutely terrified with the bar in the overhead position. Like I don't know how people are not scared when the bar is here.
I can't even get there. My like shoulder mobility is awful. My arms are like, oh, no, can't do this.
You're Jack though, so it's fine.
Guys, I think we'll call it there. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Ryan and Harry, for joining me this week. I think in terms of updates on my end, I think we've got the mini cup might have started by now, or it will be basically very close to starting if it hasn't yet. I think the spots are probably open and probably gone by now, but we'll let you know if things open up again. But apart from that, I think that's everything. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Cheers, guys. So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.